Welcome to Universe Unveiled, the podcast where we explore the mysteries that challenge our understanding of history and the universe. I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Sarah. Today we have another UU cruise session. We have all of our friends here, and Shaman, Jason Huffman, is going to make a presentation. So we're going to go around and let everyone.
What's my name? No.
Shaman.
Okay, exactly.
That's on your birth certificate.
Right.
We're going to start with Ricardo. If you want to introduce yourself, where people can find you, and all that jazz. Please, sir.
Sure. My name is Ricardo Alvario, and you can find me at Ricardo1 at X. I'm involved with the Institute for Natural Philosophy that you also have mentioned for this podcast, and we're very proud of it. And very excited to listen from Jason's presentation today. And a good day to all the participants.
Very good. Tyrone. Tab and Tyrone.
Well, I am here. Thanks to you guys. I appreciate it. Everything you can find on me is on rebirthoftheword.com. I also have a book that you can find on Amazon, Journey Through the Origins of History. I do enjoy these conversations, and I enjoy talking to each and every one of you guys. So thank you very much for having me today.
Thank you. Thank you. And cousin Nicholas.
Nicholas. Oh, shit. I said Nicholas. Father says that when he's pissed. The Occult Rejects. Thank you very much for having me on. Look forward to this. I'm Nick from the Occult Rejects, and you can find that on BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, and all major podcasts. That's about it. Looking forward to this because I was there with Jason. I had a good time, and I kind of know what we're going to be looking at. So thanks.
It's for sure going to be interesting. Can't wait to see you in the woods. And last but not least, Shaman.
And he was barefoot in the woods, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was.
It's great stuff. So Jason Huffman, you'll know me screen name Shaman711 on YouTube, where my newest series, Antediluvian Alabama, where we start looking at all the rocks and the fun stuff, is kind of what I've been working on there on YouTube. And then on X, where I've really been pushing, all of that research, but also the Mabila, it's Shaman711 _. So I guess we'll jump right into it. We can start with a congratulations to Jacqueline and Sarah, and then, of course, myself. And a thanks to Ricardo, because now we're all board members of the Institute of Natural Philosophy, and happy to be here. In partnership and moving forward with this group all around us. So congratulations, everybody. That being said, I guess I will pop to screen share. Today we're going to explore Mabila. This has been a very personal journey for me, a very spiritual one. That's why you see the screen name Shaman711, and it's why what I lead with, right? But today we're really going to focus on the evidence, but also the picture and the way I hope the evidence starts to lead us. Everybody knows DeSoto, and we're going to start looking at a few maps to get introed here. Everybody sort of knows that story, was taught that story in high school, and everybody was sort of taught a certain story about the natives, right? Now, as I've gone through this process, what I've gotten in touch with is not only the spiritual aspect of what these native peoples here on this land were walking around with, but also the physical evidence, from the mounds to the artifacts to the geoengineering, which we're going to look at here today, that was taking place, that really shows that our understanding of the native capabilities, the way of life, and even the world as they saw it is grossly sort of underrepresented. So I hope through this process, we really are start to open our eyes to that, right? To what was here, what Chief Tuscaloosa and the natives had here as DeSoto came crumbling and stumbling in. Because thanks to those diseases, by the time, we came back through here 100 or so years later, that civilization was eradicated. It was like Anthony Fauci had got to go hog wild and had nobody to stand up to him, just nothing left. So we just don't have a glimpse of these people. And part of this process has put me there on the ground, in these creeks, on these mounds, in this earth. And I'm finding things that are just pretty incredible. So today we're going to share. We're going to start with a lecture that was recorded by Nick when he came down here to see us. It is essentially me telling the story of Mabila. So we're going to get everybody familiar with what happened and what's going on, who the main characters were, and then what happened with DeSoto when he entered Chief Tuscaloosa's territory along the Coosa River. So with that, I'm going to click us over to screen share. We're going to keep our fingers crossed that all goes as it did in test. I'm going to remember also share system audio. And there we go. I'm going to get you out of the way. All right, so we can see me. We can see my screen. Okay, guys, so let's take a look as we introduce to a couple of maps here. So the DeSoto route. Can you guys see this? Is this large enough?
I can.
So traditionally, this is sort of an accepted version of the DeSoto route. Again, all of this, much of it rough, some of it anchored with evidence, but much of it based on the DeSoto Chronicles. Right now here, if we look at, this is this was a map, a photograph taken of a trail marker for the official DeSoto Trail. Now, what we're going to zoom in and look at here specifically is where we are on this generally accepted trail, right? So the towns we're going to be talking about and pinpointing once DeSoto entered Chief Tuscaloosa's territory are Atahatchi, Piachia, and Mabila. Specifically to note how traditionally when trying to map this based solely on the chronicles, right? So you've got however many, a good handful, like 7 or 8 versions of this story that was either written firsthand or related firsthand of people who survived when they finally made it out down here in Mexico. Here, notice the spread, right? So where they're nearly on, right? This is the general area. In fact, right here is where Mabila is at. But this spread, right, is what they've really sort of been off on, and we can pinpoint that. Before I pinpoint that, now. This is an example of what happens when you try to map this route based on the chronicles alone. You see here we have list of the different various students meaning students of the chronicles, right, who have gone through and tried to work out this route. I use this map to show you how difficult that is, right? Just each of these represents a different attempt at trying to
talk
take
about going
these
around your elbow to
chronicles
get to your
and
ass.
then reverse engineer a map, right? Okay, that's what happens. Now, this is the area we're going to be zooming in on today, really right where this turn happens here, right in through here. Okay, moving on to the map of the actual area, and then we'll get to the lecture. So here, now, Mabila, top left. Atahatchi, modern day Cusada. And this feature here, I'm going to highlight in a second as the winged serpent feature. But let's point out our key features. So Atahatchi, after crossing the Coosa Tallapoosa, Mabila here. Now, this is what's going to shock a lot of people, is here to here, right? You're talking 10 miles, give or take. I walked it in 4.5 hours one night, unprepared. Piachia, here. We're going to talk about 40 to 100 foot bluffs. You can see these bluffs represented here. I'm going to show you LiDAR of a platform mound, which exists right around in here where this river bends. We're going to have drone footage from Nick flying over this and almost losing our drone because this golf course right here, which now preserves many of the mounds, as you'll see from LiDAR, has a jamming system. So Nick's poor drone got hung there for, it was like 20 minutes, dude.
Well, that got me nervous.
Right. So it did. When that thing came down and landed, though, I really, for a second, I've never worked with a drone. It was like being in a Star Wars movie. And it was like R2-D2 land after a deadly mission because I was sitting there over a shuttle the whole time going, no. When that thing came back and it lands down, we're like cheering.
Yeah, I lost
Anyhow.
a drone. I actually lost
Yeah.
one of my drones. I was outside in my front yard when popping fireworks with my kids, and I had my drone right above it so I can record it. And one of them hit it by accident. And that shit
Oh,
just took
positive
off.
accident. Oh,
Man. Celebratory. Okay, so we've got let's do this real quick. Atahatchi, Mabila, and then we've got Piachia. Now that is going to put your route once they meet at Atahatchi. Remember from our map I showed you in the route, they go to Piachia. They mention a town on a peninsula, a couple of at least one of the chroniclers do, called Tuscaloosa. So if we're looking for a peninsula between here and here, we see one here. Now, they describe the river, this is the Alabama River, as being the river that ran by Tallahassee, which indeed, this river, after snaking all the way up here, meets with the Coosa and Tallapoosa to form the Alabama River. Now, they said Atahatchi was at the highest navigable point of the Alabama River, which is right here, right? This area, Parker Island, is the highest navigable area of the Alabama. So placing Atahatchi here, as I've confirmed with mounds and all sorts of artifacts, and Cusata is known for its presence, native presence, is here. Meet here, you trek, it takes them 2 days. You get through various towns and villages, through all these strange water features, to a peninsula here, running with the same river that was running by Tallahassee. They then mention crossing a river here. If you were here, this appears to be a river, as Nick's drone footage will show you, right? You cross here over to Piachia, and then you follow Pine Creek, which empties into the Alabama River, all the way up to the area of Mabila, where the artifacts, the X tree, and the crescent-shaped mound are, all of which we will look at now. LiDAR, crescent-shaped mound. This is quickly, so you have a visual in your head. That's the creek that Nick and I will be walking in right here, and this is where it's being eroded. The construction that's taking place all over here, they've come and dumped their fill right along through here, right?
Oh, wow.
So this creek has been kicked over, right? And now, as Nick and I's video showcases, this has been eroded. This used to come, all the way. And then these artifacts are pouring out and washing down the creek, right? So nothing has been excavated. That's not what I do, right? I'm picking up in this creek what's being washed out thanks to construction, right? Yeah.
Right.
Moving on. Okay, so a quick look, and then we'll start our video at the winged serpent. I have it here in 2 different seasons, and it's best in fall. Okay. This water feature. So this feature here, guys, if you look here, you see what looks like a head, right? Right here, mouth, okay? Down here, you see this. This is Goat Island. This, if you picture as a wing, it also looks somewhat like an asteroid. This is the Alabama River. We're placing Atahatchi here, right? Okay. Note something about this. When you zoom in, you see these lines? All right. This is an engineered swamp. I have video of being on the ground here, and these rows, you can jump between them. It's all old growth cypress. It's swamp. You can't hardly get into it, right? Definitely geoengineered, which is easily illustrated by looking back over here at this map. Now, this is that same area I just showed you. And you will notice Berry Swamp right here takes this 90-degree turn and then is guided off over into these swamps with all these rows. So when you zoom in on your satellite, you can see that this creek is used to fill all of these rows to make permanent swamp. This is a geo-engineered feature, right? As I can prove with LiDAR. And these features we'll explore later. They go all along these waterways. You can use LiDAR to document this extremely odd geoengineering using mounds and whatnot and movement of creeks to get your effect. All right, and now I'm getting ahead of myself, and let's start this 20-minute video and see where we end up. But I just wanted everyone to have that in their heads.
I didn't want to waste any more time.
Okay.
no, you're good.
Story of Mabila to what winged serpent, Nick, where these two people met, and where they crossed the Alabama. Already seeing, if you've paid attention to the traditional story and the hunt that has been going on for Mabila to nail down the DeSoto route, is that these towns are close to each other.
All right, how is everybody on audio?
Good. Sir.
Good.
Sounds
All right,
good.
guys. We're
Good.
going to let the story play. I may interrupt, but feel free if you have questions to pause and we'll go from there. Enjoy. Thanks, Nick, for this footage.
Of course.
Atahatchi, where it sits, is as the crow flies 9.5 miles to Mabila. What Tuscaloosa did was take this man on a journey all the way down, tricked him, made him think he crossed a river, but it's a fake part of the river that bleeds up into a creek and a lake over to the 40-foot cliffs of Piachia, where they rested, and then marched right up to Mabila. Mabila and Atahatchi you can make on foot. I did it unprepared in 4.5 hours.
Sorry, guys.
How quickly could they have done it?
Trying to be fancy.
That's how much he tricked and laid out a plan to ensnare DeSoto, beginning with sending his son to meet the DeSoto expedition before they left Coosa's territory. The way the chroniclers all agree it happened is Tuscaloosa's son comes in. He is already reportedly of giant stature. We say giant stature because he is described as a foot, roughly, over every other Spaniard there, and he is well proportioned and handsome, to steal the chronicler's words, right? Giant. He comes to DeSoto and he says all the fine words indicating, my father can't wait to serve you, but before you cross, there are 2 roads.
So, from the chroniclers, the build of Tuscaloosa was like that of his son, for he towered over all the others by more than half a vara. A vara is roughly a yard, 3 feet, and appeared to be a giant, or was one. The rest of his body and his face were in proportion to his height. His countenance was handsome and habitually wore a severe expression, that his aspect showed well the ferocity and the nobility of his spirit. His shoulders corresponded to his stature. His waist was a little more than 2 terracias around. His arms and legs were straight, well set, and proportionate to his body. In short, he was the tallest Indian of the finest figure that these Castilians saw in all their travels through La Florida.
There are 2 roads that lead to where my father waits. Please send your men down one, back the other, choose which is safest and most comfortable for you. Well, DeSoto sort of balks. He's encountered nothing but natives that want to really kiss his ass over in Coosa's territory. They were using him to fight battles, little territorial squabbles they had. So he had been in peace, right? That's his mindset. When this big, noble giant comes and says, my father wants you to feel comfortable and feel safe. But now in hindsight, we can see what Tuscaloosa and why he sent his son on this important task was to make sure DeSoto trusted them to lead the rest of the way. He was at ease with them. Because now that we know Atahatchi and Mabila were so close, we see how much Tuscaloosa had at stake. They were everywhere around here. Absolutely everywhere. This place was huge. He had his territory on the line, so he needed DeSoto to trust him. So DeSoto listened. He sent the man down, he sent the man back, and they picked the road, and they entered Tuscaloosa's territory. The meeting happened over here at Atahatchi. It says Tuscaloosa was up on a mound, covered on a small seat, with roughly 100 of his nobles all around him, plumed to the hilt, painted calm. Said he had a banner behind him. All of the chronicles agree that DeSoto said he had not encountered banners, war banners, until he got here. Painted yellow and blue on deerskin. Now, DeSoto and his 600 to 900 men, 350 horses, various pigs, and all of the other attendants and men, from blacksmiths to clerics to hunters to mappers, they come walking into this town, parade fashion. Horses, these natives had never seen horses. It would be much like a UFO landing right here today, Nick. And you and I doing what Tuscaloosa did. He didn't move. He didn't even look at them. Armored men, weapons, banners, horses. He didn't even acknowledge them.
From the Chronicles. Near Tuscaloosa was a standard bearer carrying a large banner made of yellow deerskin with 3 blue bars dividing it from one side to the other. It was the same size and shape as the standard the companies of cavalry in Spain would use. This was a new thing for the Spaniards to see military insignia, for up to that time they had not seen a standard or a banner or a guidon.
Until DeSoto came in. DeSoto came in. One chronicle says Tuscaloosa stayed seated and waited for DeSoto to come. One chronicle says this is where Tuscaloosa stood, and they meted each other. They exchanged words. We'll keep it short. Basically, we'll describe what DeSoto had done the whole time, his MO, and what he does here. He would take the chiefs captive by force when he entered their territory, demand slaves, burden bearers to carry everything for his men, demand sex slaves to gratify the needs and requirements of his men, and then they would take all of the corn, camp for 20 days, establish dominance, kidnap the chief, march through the rest of the territory, rinse, repeat when they got to a new territory. So here they are in this town with this giant man. They lay this on him. They say, we need burden slaves, we need sex slaves. He says, not here. He says, we're near to my main town, right? I want to protect this shit. I've got a satellite town, Mabila. I'll take you there, and there you will have your sex slaves and your slaves. DeSoto agrees. They had to find a horse to put this giant man on, and they can't find a horse. All the chronicles agree they cannot find a horse to bear his weight until they find the largest pack, animal. They come, and it can stand the weight of the man. There's still a problem because his feet are touching the ground, that his feet barely able to clear the ground. Described DeSoto with the DeSoto chroniclers described Tuscaloosa as eyes like oxen, 1.5 to 2 feet above every other Spaniard, nearly a foot above every other native. Well-proportioned and handsome, more so than any other native they had encountered into this time. And they said that about all the people of this area in Tuscaloosa. In fact, we have a wife that was kidnapped from Mabila. And when she went down to Peru, I believe it was.
From the Chronicles. When the governor in Tuscaloosa entered Mabila, the natives came out to receive them with dances and ceremonies. So they were so taken by them. When the entertainment ended, another dance took place, performed marvelously by beautiful women. Because, as I have said, those Indians are very well favored, and the women so much so that afterward, when we left the country and went to Mexico, Governor Morcaso took an Indian from this province of Mabila, who was very handsome and a graceful woman. She could compare in beauty with the most elegant from Spain who were in all of Mexico, and thus, because of her extreme beauty, those ladies in Mexico sent to beg the governor to send her because they wished to see her. He did so gladly because it pleased him that they should envy her. Stolen bride.
All of the wives of the captain that had kidnapped her would demand she was sent to them so they could marvel over how charming, right? How well put together and how beautiful she was. And then you have this giant chief of these noble, charming, beautiful people. Many of the descriptions in the DeSoto Chronicles, when they're speaking on the encounters with these people, they marvel over how well they conducted themselves, how they listened, how they took every point the Spanish had to make, conferred, returned, and spoke more clearly, they said, than any of the finest diplomats or court members in Europe. They also said when they were at the temple of Cofacheque that what they found there would rival even the Empire of Rome.
So, Ricardo, that's and everyone, sorry, that's Vince Barrows is doing the work with the Pisca figurines. And that ties into this story, the Cofacheque. That's what they're talking about here.
They marveled over what they found here, and they marveled over this giant man they had now kidnapped. Tuscaloosa, obviously having exhibited to us here now that this plan was in place, takes DeSoto and his men, Tuscaloosa, on a peninsula, crosses the river. There are 40-foot bluffs on the other side, they say. There's Piachia. Now, I watched archaeologists, Nick, they did a YouTube video where many years ago they all got on a party boat and they went up and down the Alabama River. They were looking for 40-foot bluffs. And they say in that video they could not find a suitable location. Well, I'm going to take you to those 40-foot cliffs and we're going to stand on the river. And you're going to ask the same question I asked. How did they not see this place? Okay. With the LiDAR of the platform mounds and the golf course, which is now, preserving all of these mounds. Piachia. So they crossed the river there. And right there at this location, the river, as wide as it is, seems to feed in from the north. That's a trick. The river doesn't continue way on up, as our drone can hopefully show. It turns small into a creek. You see, so this whole time, DeSoto had him thinking, Tuscaloosa had DeSoto thinking that he had left, that territory completely. And all he did was jump a little lake and come north, almost in parallel with Atahatchi. It was a brilliant plan. Now, the chronicles tell us when they arrived at Mabila, the land had been cleared, meaning all of the brush was being pulled up by the root, flattened, ready for battle. They describe Mabila as containing up to 80 houses. What do they mean by a house? You're talking native long houses, essentially one large room, a few little compartments broken off. Now, the chronicles describe these houses as being able to contain 600, the smaller ones, 1,000 to 1,200, the larger ones. They describe this city as just that. The few horses that are able to go inside, they say the reason they couldn't take the horses in is they could not easily navigate the city streets and hence were prey to the arrows of the native. This was a big place. The fortifications, the walls they described were huge. They described ramparts that could hold 8 men every 20 feet or so along this massive clay wall. This was a city, a fortified city. DeSoto and his men, they were comfortable. I already described they'd encountered so much behavior from the natives just kissing their ass that's what they were expecting here. They kidnapped another chief. So when they load up to head to Mabila, DeSoto heads on ahead. Maybe 100 men, it says, maybe 100 horses, but also all of the slaves, all of the burden bearers. And they carried everything that army had with it. It says many of the soldiers were not even wearing their armor, or their arms. They wanted to dally along this beautiful, beautiful countryside, hunting for squirrel, rabbit, drinking from the creeks. So they stayed behind DeSoto and the front vanguard and all of their stuff. Once inside, Tuscaloosa basically removes himself from DeSoto. He excuses himself. These two men see through each other somewhat. They definitely don't trust each other. DeSoto sees that when he arrives, not only is the land cleared, but he has reports that these houses are stuffed to the gills with soldiers and weapons. The guy that told him that asked him, hey, let's stay out in the field. DeSoto is so fucking bold, so full of his ability, as he said, to lance the natives from his horse. Favorite fucking pastime of this dude's. Okay? Now, his men have told him, look, they've cleared the soil. These houses, they sent women out when they first arrived, right? And you've already heard how beautiful these women are. They sent the women out to dancing, and the soldiers are just, paying attention to that shit, right? Well, he's got a spy that comes and tells him, guess what? The houses are filled with men and weapons, dude. Come out to the field. DeSoto says, I'm sick of sleeping in the field. I'm sick of it. I'm going to sleep in here. See how full of himself he is? Now, Tuscaloosa removes himself. goes to another house where all of his men are around. And according to I guess, info they got torturing after the battle, there was a discussion. Do we go ahead and take these men now, this 100 that are in here, and then prepare for the ones that are coming? Or is it more honorable to wait? Turns out it didn't matter. There supposedly was a back and forth. I don't know how much of that was spies feeding information, to DeSoto just to satiate his, what I'm sure was rage at what had happened. Point being, Tuscaloosa removes himself. Comes dinner time. DeSoto demands, and has been always demanding, that these chiefs eat with him. So he's there at the table. He sends a guy. He says, go get Tuscaloosa. Guy knocks on the door. One of the natives answers. He asks for Tuscaloosa. He says, no, it's not coming out. By the way, who the fuck are you to be coming here and using my chief's names without all the proper titles? Shuts the door. 3 times this happens, right? 3 times. Picture DeSoto there waiting, table in front of him, out here in the wild. He knows there's fucking men in every house, and he's demanding the chief come here. That's the scene. After the 3rd time, DeSoto's punk ass tells this guy, go ask another one. The guy looks out and he sees a native walking. He grabs the native and he says, hey, go tell your fucking chief to get his ass in here. Food's cold, right? The guy basically shirks. Again, he gets the same response. The insolence. Not only do I not respond to you, but for you to put my chief's name in your mouth, right? Same story. Long story short, that native gets cut wide open. Right there on the spot. Down the back, one says. Down the front, the other says. Either way, he's cut wide open. All right? At that point, all of these men that are...
Some chronicles say cut wide open. Some chronicles... Oh, that echo's terrible. Never mind. Some say he lost an arm, cut his arm off.
in these houses that are waiting on this rush. Arrows flying, men out of the houses. DeSoto, everybody caught in just a fucking field of men and flint arrows, essentially pushed out the door. This town, it says, had 2 gates, one east, one west, only 2 ways in. So there's DeSoto. He gets out. One of the chroniclers say that when he took his stick, he had like 3 cloaks on. When he took his cloak off, he had 30-something arrows in him. Depending on the chronicler, depends on the injury, but supposedly barely with his life, he gets rushed out that door. A couple of things happen as soon as he's out that door. There's still a priest and 2 other people trapped inside that are part of his expedition. Everybody else is still fucking lollygagging, right? He's got to get a horse. He gets on his horse. Now there's confusion. Where are these slaves? Where are these burden bearers? And where is all this stuff? Well, all these natives are chained. They're chained right by the door. They didn't go in the door. And all of the belongings of the DeSoto expedition were there with them. So in this confusion, while DeSoto is sorting out getting a horse, wondering where the fuck the rest of his fellows are, the natives grab those slaves, and they grab all that stuff, and they put it inside the walls. They barricade the walls. They cut the chains off the slaves. The slaves start fighting with them. Meanwhile, all of this stuff is getting dispersed, taken into the houses. There are stories of natives on the walls playing the Spanish war drums, showing them their weapons, just making fun of them, going, we got all your shit. The stuff then gets put in these houses, these 80 large houses with all of these men and these weapons. Soto sees all this. He knows all this by now. He's got his men out here. They start showing up. He gets his horses. What does he order them to do? He orders the men on the horses because they were the only ones that still had on their armor. Okay? All the other armor's inside. He orders them to get off the horses, go take the door. So they do. They go take the door. Everybody's inside. The chronicles then tell us that they try to take the horses in, but realize that in this city, they can't. They can't navigate the streets with these horses because these houses are full of assailants. Right? So DeSoto, in his rage, I'm sure at this point, in his confusion, in understanding this trap had gotten him, and in his pride, orders his men to take the town and burn it. Because as the chroniclers say, the injury that was waiting them in that town was far worse than losing whatever they had inside those houses. So they do it. They take the town. Numbers.
What that means is they realized that they could not get their horses in there. They could not properly use their advantage as they had heretofore in this town. They were outnumbered and everybody was well armed and they knew how strong and intense they were. So this was their only option.
Vary depending on chroniclers, but thousands of natives slaughtered. Thousands. Roughly 20 of DeSoto's men, right? There was a beaver pond, a creek near the site. I can take you, we'll go to it this afternoon, Nick. Right near the X marker tree. They say the battle lasted 9 hours, and they say the men would go to this creek because they had to refresh themselves and wash the blood off from slaughtering these thousands of natives. So much so that the whole creek was red with blood. Right? It's still there today. They slaughtered them. They used the horses. They used everything. The natives put on a good show. I think if you want to hear a story about what was on display, not only, with this plan DeSoto put in place, but the native bravery, you look to the end of the battle, they basically eradicated all the men, the Spanish invaders. What was left was the women, and they were up against part of this giant wall, feet thick. Some it's like 9 feet's a number, unbelievable thick. That's important. They get all the women up against this wall. They start approaching the women, and naturally the women sort of take a defensive posture, and they expect the women to be surrendering. But instead, the women attack. And what the chroniclers say about this encounter with the women was that they were harder to put down than the men. And the stories about the men blew DeSoto's mind. When you hear how far these flint arrows went all the way through a horse, all the way through the armor, and clean out the other side, DeSoto would have them cut open to study. He couldn't believe the strength and the displays of power he was seeing. So for them to say that the women were harder to take down, you understand that these women saw the town afire, saw the men dead, and they had life no more, and their bodies were the weapons. They said they fought without concern. No weapons, just fucking everything they had. So the Spanish got to put down the women. There's a native boy up on the wall. Last one left. So the Spanish see this, as they say in the Chronicles, bravery. They don't want to kill the kid. Nice of them. They just killed everything he'd known, burned it. But they didn't want to kill the kid. The kid looses his last arrow, sees them encroaching, and he breaks his bow apart, and he takes the string of the bow and ties it around his neck. And there's a tree, they say, growing out of the wall of the town. And he strings himself up around that tree, and he jumps off, hangs himself. Tuscaloosa got away to the north. Now, he didn't escape. In fact, the stories that every single person they asked afterwards told was that they had to force him to leave over and over and over again, but they got him and a few men north. That way that whatever happened here today, there was still a leader in place. His son, they say, died there. Now, this burial mound, Nick, we're going to go look at this crescent burial mound with this artifact I'll show you over there on the table. Marks what I believe is the burial mound of Chief Tuscaloosa's son, placed just north of this X marker tree. When you see the way the creek, thanks to the construction, has been altered and is washing out the back of this crescent-shaped burial mound, you see this artifact washing out that represents this mound, this big X-man marker tree. It's definitely a burial mound. And it's definitely a memorial of Mabila, something they did after the battle. Today, there's a neighborhood being built as we speak, having been built for the past 10 or 15 years, throwing up mansions, Mick mansions is the term, clearing what are mounds, Nick. I'll take you and show you. It's fucking moundy territory. And pushing all of this metal that was in all of these houses from this 900 to 1,100 man squadron who had everything needed. The chroniclers describe it as being the best outfitted expedition to ever set foot in the New World. Huh? Now, every material possession that expedition had burned inside of these 80 longhouses. Metal melted. The rocks that it was stuck on stuck to it. The carbon from the wood inside the blade is still inside. And these developers, knowingly or unknowingly, clearing this land, pushing all of this into this creek, so that when Jason Huffman, also known as Shaman 711 here, goes down there practicing these shamanic connections, because his life is going through the fucking ringer, he starts finding these artifacts, this metal, and all the power that was in this place where this atrocity took place. But more so than the atrocity, and what we learn by now having mapped this stuff out, is the genius plan that Tuscaloosa put in place. And he stopped him. He stopped DeSoto. What do I mean by that? After the battle, DeSoto had a 6-day journey to certain resupply in the Gulf of Mexico. Certain resupply, fucking waiting. Now he's sitting here, 30 days, they sit here on this land. Says they go around killing and burning everything. No questions. If it breathes, it's dead. If it stands, it's burned. Now DeSoto, all the pearls, everything he had burned. He was empty-handed. And when he went back and found Atahatchi, because it burned, when he found Atahatchi, he knew what Tuscaloosa had done to him. So he sat and he bubbled in his rage. And they said they used the bodies of the natives. They were cutting them open for the fat to tend to their own wounds. Just death all around. Natives moaning and screaming. When they came across them, boom, dead. They wanted to know they could rest. And they did for 30 days. Then DeSoto made a fateful decision. He'd already heard Tuscaloosa went north. He decided to go north. What led him to that? Well, certainly if he got to resupply, his men were going to say, fuck it. Mutiny, they're heading back home, right? Sure, that played probably a part in it. But I think the madness that overtook him in his time here, in his slaughtering these natives, burning everything they had, and realizing that this man Tuscaloosa had done this to him, that he was going to chase him. And he did, to his death. Died over on the Mississippi River. They had to weight his body down and sink it in the river so that they knew the natives couldn't find it. Because of the horrors that man had wrought upon this country, God's country, these people that lived in connection with spirit and with nature, lived in ways today, as we can showcase with some of these mounds and some of these artifacts, that we are just beginning to comprehend today. And we see it finally illustrated here. And when we learn precisely what Tuscaloosa did to overcome DeSoto and send that devil to his ruin on the Mississippi River. By the way, Nick, last time I went over the Mississippi River, I was heading out to Dallas, I took some of DeSoto's shit with me. And as I'm over the river, I throw it off into him. I said, there's your shit back, and wherever you are, Hernando, fuck you. Because Tuscaloosa won. That plan put in place won. You want to look at some of these artifacts sometime, dude, or you want me to keep talking?
Yeah, it's up to you. Let's go.
Yo, that shit was deep.
He did throw that off the bridge too because he sent me a video of it. I saw it.
Yeah,
with my own
there's
two eyes.
evidence.
That was deep. That was
I've
actually interesting.
contemplated it a few times, and I always traveled with a little. But this last time, as it happened, the conditions were perfect. There was no traffic, there was nothing on the river, and so I took advantage.
Here's your shit back.
It's funny that you was
Right?
That's
talking about
exactly what he
DeSoto,
said.
because I went to, I think it was either Fort McAllister or Fort Moores here in Georgia, and they had a little snippet about him too in there.
Yeah, most definitely. A few things we mentioned, just to show you before we break loose into whatever. Let me see if you guys can see my X feed. Is this on your screens?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, so I mentioned a clay mound with an artifact. This is that artifact here with the representation of the mound in the middle. This is the crescent mound I already showed you, right, that it represents, with the creek washing out the back of it. So you have visuals on both of these now. Now, at this point, I have video of Nick and I going here and looking at this. We could do that next. I also have video of Nick and I looking at the artifact table, and sort of just dissecting and showing those in some good high def. So after that 25-minute sit still, I'm gonna sort of see which way you guys want to go. Well, here, let me show you. Let's go ahead and show you this. So we did accent the earthworks, right? That we can barely comprehend. Now, this mound shows that feature because if you see this creek, look over here on this. You see this line coming in? Okay. Now that represents over here this waterway. Now, when all of this floods, as Nick and I showed, this water comes into this bowl, right? And fills it in. They're showing they can use the water flow to effect, just as we saw over here on this winged serpent, where they use the water flow to effect to create this swamp. This is also evident around Mortar Creek. So I have several examples just real quick to show you this earthwork movement. So if I look at the USGS map here, okay, I have all of these waterways. I see the creek, this is Mortar Creek, and I have what are marked as ponds. They look like lakes. Well, I'm going to tell you that when you go into these, it is a swamp, right? It is a swamp that, as you can see on LiDAR, here I split an image for you, is made up of these roads, right? Now, you cannot get in here, guys, unless you're a crazy tall guy on a mission to trace what these natives were doing. This is snake infested, tall cypress tree, things falling down, and in between these rows is just, it's swamp. I mean, you either jump over it or you're good with 3 feet of snaky water, right?
And
Okay, so this is not modern engineering, right? This is native engineering, which you can see on scale. Now here I show you the whole thing. So what looked like a swamp, I want you to see what they've done with the creeks. Okay. So here comes this creek flowing in, Mortar Creek. You look at that map, you saw what looked like a lake next to it, right? It's this geoengineered swamp that has even been flooded a little more. So much of these ridges are now, underwater. You can see the deep part right here, right? So you're seeing geoengineered swamp that took place a long time ago, as verified by my video of going in here. This exhibits itself all over this area. When we look back at our main map here, right? Look over here. Now I can pull up LiDAR and I don't want to take up too much of our time, but if you zoom in here, you can even on straight regular map, see the land, the ridges, right? Now, again, go in here, and this is like old growth swamp. And when you look at LiDAR, these ridges are the same, right? Now, I'm not the expert. I'm the guy on the ground that's been looking at the map and jumping in there and seeing what the heck is this, right? So let me just put that out there for you. That's how I'm reporting. I've gone in the ground and I've seen that what I found on the map here, right? I'm looking at it and I'm going, wow, that looks like the wing of a serpent or a space thing. Who made that island? I've got a video going to Goat Island on my X feed where I tour this, right? But you zoom in here and you go, what are these rows? Why? Right? And then you jump in because you have been following this creek the whole time here. And you realize that this creek has been diverted. These two merge. As soon as they merge and you've got water flow, what happens? It's diverted to a 90 and you get Berry Swamp with a lake right where the eye should go, right? And you get the winged serpent. Okay. Now, guys, should I pull up video of the artifact table with Nick, or should we venture to the field and look at video of this mound?
Hey, let's look at the field at the mound because I got like 15 more minutes before I have to leave. So I want to see that mound footage.
10-4. Okay, so that's woods and mounds. That's one video, and we can fast forward through that stuff to where we get.
Oh, we're on?
Yes.
So let's look at the tree. Look at this tree
Okay,
real
so
quick.
we're standing at what I often call the southern end of the Mabila complex, right? So you've got the Dunn branch here flowing in where it meets the Pine Creek branch, which is where all the metal is flowing in from where the construction in the neighborhood has pushed it into this branch,
That's the tree.
not this branch. So here where these two meet, Nick, the burial mound, the crescent burial mound, we didn't bring that piece with us. I wanted to bring it with us, is directly north of here. So I took myself one day, again, to show you how I was learning these shamanic exploration tools. I went from here to that mound, right? Fick and Thorne was from
Here's
the
the tree.
Institute of Natural Philosophy. He said it looks kind of like a man because in that nobule, a little bit. But what we definitively do have.
So quickly, this is one tree. I'm just going to show you the visual and skip to the mound that has been worked into this cross, or which Nick noted on the way out, kind of looks like an orangutan face in here. And this leg looks like it's bending. Now I'll take a second and just let you see this tree.
In one tree, if I can move these thorns, one tree split into two, 1.5 to 2 feet up. Those two portions were then wrapped back around each other. As you can well see over here, you can see the division, the hole. Yeah, come on back. I got it clear for you. So, yeah. See what it takes to the car and walk up a strip of land to see this.
Okay.
There's a frog.
So now we'll just skip ahead, guys. I'll tell you what we're going to do since our time is quick. It looks like we got 15 minutes. So I'll just skip ahead for a second. You can see Nick and I walking through the creek. What I want you to see is how all of the artifacts are collected. They're just being washed down, right? They're in the creek. And then we'll skip up to our mound.
40 feet. And then in this straight line, metal. I've often had people see the amount, and I had a few nameless,
So guys, all of this, right? So here is the amount of this metal you're getting. It's everywhere.
Faceless Twitter accusations thrown at me like, oh, it's one thing to find a relic, but it's another to strip mine it for archaeologists. What I think people don't gather is just how I'm finding this stuff. It's not a digging up at all. It's a making sure it gets saved. Because with each subsequent rain, it gets washed down.
Okay, let's get to our mound.
Metal, again.
Okay, so here, guys, we're at the mound, and I'll guide us through it quickly. Here, you can see the ridge start to forming of this mound, right? I'm going to walk up, fast forward us up here, and you will see what I mean by the creek. You see all this concrete block and stuff? This is backfill from the construction that's happening over here. So they bring it down here and dump it. And this creek, which was running over here, is now pushed over, as you'll see in a second.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Okay, see, here's another piece of clay. There's a house through there. All of this land is part of the development, and you can see where they throw their junk over here. and it has pushed the to maintain
it's in that
shape.
same shape again that we keep saying.
Clay, not
And then
fired.
Walk up to the top, and you can really
All right, here's
see
the
how
mound.
dramatic that middle portion is of the burial mound. The backside of this crescent.
All right, here, guys, this is where it's washing out. Now, if you see all of this hanging down, this was ground cover. This is moss, grass, roots, right? So the mound was originally out to here, and all of this has been washed and is being carved out by this creek.
Shaped burial mound. I've already showcased the clay piece.
That's the mound.
Which memorializes this same mound. Now we're going to walk up it, and you'll see that as I demonstrated earlier, the water trickles in and will fill this crescent when the water's high. But what's easy to see here, you can see from the topsoil, the mat, right, that's loose, all of this is being washed out. Because if you can see right here, the original creek line is here, go down here and do.
1 second.
Nick's taking his shoes off? No.
I'm gonna lead you a
Look at all the bugs.
free route. I accounted for your.
Hey, we're out. Hey, guys, we're out there barefoot, and Nick was barefoot too. You saw the ground.
Yeah.
With the leaves on the trees, I'll probably have to walk you along it, but you see all the way down there, it dives back around and we'll meet here.
So right now, if you're looking at that crescent, that horseshoe, we're at the top high point, right at the bottom of the bowl.
Here, let's take ourselves up to the high ground at least.
And we're walking to the edge of the bowl now. Spider webs.
Okay, you want to stay here and I'll get down in the bowl.
So what you're going to notice here is that this mound, though you saw the slope as we walked up, once you get to the bowl, it's straight down and, somewhere between what, Nick, 10 and 20 feet.
We can give some perspective on how tall this thing is.
Yeah, if you want to. Oh, you're crazy.
So you're essentially at the high point, Nick, of this bowl crescent-shaped burial mound, right?
Can you
Now
run back
behind-
that George of the Jungle move you just did? Can you replay
Right.
that?
You see this back here, guys? This is water, okay? So this bowl, forms, and when the water recedes, there's still some left back here where it comes in. To illustrate what I mean, this bowl fills with water.
Okay.
You can see, I don't know, what are you, 15 feet above me?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Now, if I go another 3 feet down, I don't know if you can.
All right, now.
My design fills with water. That, to me, it almost echoes the abilities we see over there in the winged serpent, where they were taking a creek, creating a swamp in order to make a head. It shows an understanding of not only earthworks, but also of using water. Not only using it, but incorporating it into the design as they exhibit it here. That, to me, is extremely impressive. Correct.
All right, now we're going to walk
basically
down it.
following the horseshoe back around where it meets and the water flows in.
That's the high point.
Really soft ground through here, Nick.
You see the bowl edge? Now we're going to start walking down the ramp. It's a ramp. It doesn't stay the same height until you get down to the bottom.
Somebody got a machete
Nick
over
through
there.
there, wasn't it, Nick?
Thought I heard some macheteing over,
We're
over there.
still 12 or so feet.
Yeah.
See, we're starting to slope
Yeah,
down,
you can tell,
right?
yeah.
You're doing great, dude.
He lost balance.
You're doing great.
See, now we're down to 4 or 5 feet.
Try.
And we're essentially there. You can start to see this other creek that's represented on the clay piece and the LiDAR right here behind this mound. And when this water is up, it flows into here, still finishing the bowl. In fact,
And then this is us at the bottom in the
What do you
bowl.
see?
It's a fucking mound with like a hole in the middle of it.
Oh, the mound alone.
I mean, almost like a horseshoe, really.
Yeah, like half a crater.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that shit's quite obvious.
you stay where you are. But to give perspective, see, this gets really soggy down here, right? Right back there, you can see water. And that creek behind you flows in right there by design. Holy shit.
It's a big thorn.
Yeah, I propose it's the sun, I think. Yeah, I propose it's the sun, I think.
There you go.
You got to think, you know, they went to so much trouble to memorialize it. This mound is a complicated piece of engineering, not only to incorporate the water, but, you know, look at the grade, man, the slant, everything that went into it.
There's the ramp.
Then you have a north marker tree pointing south. You have an X marker tree just south of here. You then have these clay representations with this mound represented on it. All of that put together shows me great ceremony, you know, that happened afterwards, just as we would for any great person. We'd go to effort, right? So when you put all of the pieces together, the one that died that day that you would do that for was the chief's son. That's what gets me to burial place of Tuscaloosa's son.
Hmm.
There's your mound, Tyrone, and you have 6 minutes to spare.
No, that was actually
So
pretty
again,
cool, man. It
guys,
makes me
this
want
is
to
the
go there.
mound, and this is the memorial clay piece, which I found in the creek. And that's the creek flowing in that fills that bowl with water, and you just saw a video of it.
That's
All right,
crazy.
so
How
we
did you
didn't get
put that
everywhere
together?
I planned on getting, but I think we got a good bit out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jason,
Are we going to hang up? Should I stop screen share and bring it back to main, or do we have time to look at anything else? What do you guys want to do?
I mean, we can let Tyrone do his doctor's thing, and we can continue if you want. I mean,
I'm fine with
can you,
looking
can
at.
you
I mean,
show
I
Jason?
Yeah.
Can you show the those rows again on LiDAR?
Sure. So the Mortar Creek rows,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So you've got your map here, right? This is the area where the rows appear, right?
Mhm.
And let's click over. Oh, these are mounds that are further south. This is still the same creek, and the lines are up north. Okay, so here you go. Here's where it transfers over, and to lidar from lidar to map. I did that just so you could see that it's showing you water, but it's showing you swamp. These are swamp representations. But what it actually is this, right?
But when you look at this, it looks like uh, artificial reservoir, right? But when you go to the
Yeah,
full
to the
lidar,
eye, it's like walking into a swamp.
yeah. But when you go to the full lidar one, you see what I
Yeah.
read here. I might be reading wrongly, but what I read here is that the rows precede that flow of water. It's like that flow of water came when the whatever was maintaining these reservoirs
Right.
caved in, and the water rushed in and erased some of the rows.
Yeah, it's quite
Right.
possible because you see the rows are moving horizontal here and vertical here,
Yeah,
right?
it
Edge,
looks like
when you
it
go
was.
jumping off in here, you see this edge right here?
Mhm.
I mean, that's like a mound, and all these little dots through there are like, little high points on the mound. It's just extremely strange territory. That it is not modern, as is easily discernible by the age of all these cypress trees and stuff in here.
Sure. And the hydrology of the place, because you see the river is winding. It couldn't go into the reservoir, so it
Right.
just nicked it a bit and then went around it.
Right. And when you look at the map, Ricardo, the big one, the whole picture, you see through here, right? All of these creeks. The one you were looking at just there is a Mortar Creek, which flows right here. But all of these creeks, are diverted in some way. Look at all of these bodies of water through here.
Yeah, that it
You know,
looks
that
like they
these
have.
creeks somehow create. Go ahead.
It looks like not only it's very old, and I believe it was different then, probably not swampy as it is for the last 300 or 400 years. I don't know, maybe more. But it looks like whatever they were doing, they were controlling not only the courses of water, but they were storing water in it somewhere. So if you
Correct.
remember the gardens, I think, I'm not sure if it is Poverty Point. I might be saying it wrong because I'm not very versed in this, but I know that there is a lot of indigenous peoples from the area that were very wise in making production of food and maintaining of water, and so
Right.
it looks like
Well,
something
the
of that
natives
kind.
said they made terrible slaves, Ricardo. Simply because of this, everything they had, they didn't want for anything. I mean, we could propose all day. I don't know once you get on the ground and start looking at these things, but it could even be a micro environment, Maybe there was a
Sure,
reason that swamps were beneficial because of the flora or fauna, right? That was
sure.
drawn to it. It could be all kinds of things, man.
But the swamp might have come later because of that excess of water, right? Because if it
Yeah.
was maintained, you wouldn't have a swamp.
It's very true. Exactly.
Yeah.
Very true. Tyrone, do you need to sign off? I don't want to run past your
No,
time without giving you a chance to hop in for a second.
no, I'm not. I'm good for another 5 minutes. It's just interesting because I'm looking at this lidar. I got the USGS on my other screen over here too, and I'm looking at it. Man, it's actually
Cool.
pretty interesting, bro. Like this lidar shit
Yeah.
is crazy. Like, how did you find this mound? You was just walking through the woods or something? Like,
It all started on the ground, man, right? So I go in and I find these places. One of the first things I find is this just on the map because I'm looking on the map because I'd
mm,
already located what I'm certain is Atahatchi up around in here. So I'm looking at the map, right? And I zoom out and I see this and I go, what the, right?
you
I
wanted
go,
to
I
know
know this
more.
road. I've driven that road. That's swamp. Why do I see these ridges, right?
Mm.
So you go in and you verify. You go, yeah, this is the same swamp I was in last year, right? Let me go look at this LiDAR. And you see all these ridges,
Yo,
and up through here.
the more I look at it, it looks like a boar head
It looks like, at first I saw a jackal. The reason I say winged
or a
serpent
jackal.
is this
Yeah.
actually ties into much of the antediluvian stuff I found in North Alabama, right? We have a big star wound, an impact crater, which some say is like millions of years old. Who knows here in Wetumpka, right? My point being, they picked this location to demonstrate what caused the destruction of the Younger Dryas, right? What brought the flood, the stuff that destroyed everything I found in North Alabama. I believe that's where this echo of this geoengineering comes from. It's like the pyramids in Egypt, right? You see it on this large scale here. And then I found it echoed all across what we call Tuscaloosa's territory, like I was showing you at Mortar Creek, right? It's like, so, the theory is that the antediluvians created this, right? Or the survivors, not the antediluvians, but whatever connected spiritual remnant, right, was around here had something to do with this, right? There's a reason that Chief Tuscaloosa was known as the last mound builder. See, Atahatchi was known as a new town. That's how they described it. So he's the last verifiable chief that were building new mounds. All the other territories, that wasn't happening. Why is all of this echoed here? Well, does the winged serpent mean to us in every other culture around the planet where it appears? It means comet, green in the sky, flying, destruction, the winged serpent from heaven, right? So all of what I found in North and Central Alabama that was evidence of destruction, my eye sees winged serpent when I look in here, right? Because I see that a message saying all this destruction you see north of here, this winged serpent. That's why I see that. But I also at first saw the jackal, the
Well,
Egyptian, what is it, knowledge or wisdom bringer?
yeah, I was looking at I was just looking at boar's head. Yeah, it does look like a boar's head to me. It came out. I wanted to make sure, but it definitely does. So I mean, that's
Yeah.
pretty interesting because when I look at it, I was like, I mean, I'm from the South, man. I'm in Georgia too, bro. I know I'm in the woods a lot myself, and we see them running
Exactly.
around a lot. And I was like, yeah, damn, that shit look like
You
a
do,
straight board.
man. The triangular, it's funny you said that, the triangular mound of antediluvian rubble on the Cahaba, right? Which to me is the light switch. It's got the drill holes, all that on it, right? You can't explain it naturally. the way I first got onto the top of it was a wild boar, man. You see how I'm out there barefoot, right, with my stick. And I'm walking along this mound trying to sort it out, and I hear a wild boar up over there. And man, I was on top of that mound.
I bring my
in
45 every time I go
microseconds.
out, bro. I bring my 45 out because they're really bad out here, man. And like I like to
They're
take
bad. You know, I feel
Yeah.
you on the 45. I bring, look, man, the places I go and the way I learn to go there, you know, you connect with nature and you want to be at one with it and you want it to be at peace with you.
Yep.
So I definitely don't mind my partners having a 45, but I try to walk out there as the natives would, you know, well
Hey,
prepared
some
and
of them things
aware
are
of what's
very
out there,
bad, man.
but ready to respect it.
I had one of my buddies
Run
was
when
in
you
an
hear it.
AT. Yeah, my buddy was in an ATV, and he actually got attacked by one. They actually,
Yeah, they're nuts, dude.
yeah, they're bad. But that's only when they're really when the food is very low. So they go
Food's low or young are being protected, right?
Yeah, they go really berserk. And yeah, it's interesting. I'm in the woods a lot. I enjoyed I have a kayak and I have a 17-foot bass boat that I like to go out there. So where I can't ever take my bass boat, I'll take my kayak at, and I go on through a lot of little rivers and streams and stuff like that. And you'll
Right.
find, and you're right. I don't understand why people don't understand. You can find artifacts anywhere. It's very easy. There's a spot right
These
here
people are everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, there's a spot here that I'm like 30 minutes away from Reedsville. If I have some arrowheads over there. You can go right down there, man, and in the backwoods, bro, and they got arrowheads and all kinds of flints and all kinds of stuff out there just laying on the ground. And like you said, it does get washed up a lot. It's pretty interesting because where I'm at is there was a lot of Native Americans around here also. And it's big for the history about this place. Also, they actually built some Savannah actually built some of their stuff over the Native American history. So
Yeah,
it's
everywhere did.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna jump out of here, guys. I appreciate it. I'm gonna go take care of this business. This was always a pleasure. Shaman, man, you gave me a lot of information. I'm gonna look at that. Like I told you before, man, I need to come and check you out because I actually have family in Anniston, Alabama.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, my pops is from there. So Nick, if you ever make another trip up there anytime soon, let me know, bro. I'm only about like
if you
4
want
or
to go,
5
let me
hours
know. I'll
from.
come with you anyway. So
Yeah,
Yeah, man,
we
you're
could do that.
welcome
We
to come
could
on
do that.
anytime, bro.
Yeah, we'll do it after these conferences because I'm already gassed up and ready for these conferences.
not trying to do
Well,
much.
rock
already.
on with what you're doing. And everybody that's I called you, you know, in the little ad I put out for this, I called you Rebirth of the World, but it's Rebirth of the Word, right?
Yeah. So yeah,
word.
the word, yeah, the
Here we go.
word.
Word.
But y'all have a good afternoon now because it's afternoon for me at least. Y'all chill out. Hey, be alive, be happy, be blessed, and always learn something new. Knowledge is power. Y'all take it easy.
Thanks for
That's
coming,
it.
Thank you,
Love you,
Tyrone.
bro.
Y'all
Take
care.
care, bro. I just pulled this up because the ridges you're asking about, Ricardo. So here you can see if we're at this winged serpent, you know, I already showed you the map, you know, showing this, you can see the ridges, but that really shows it there. All these old cypress trees and stuff in here, you know, to create this whole very geoengineered seeming area. You see all these little strange lakes, you know, see that's a little snake. It's just a very intriguing area, guys, once you start getting into it.
Yeah, all of it looks heavily geoengineered. All of it, and heavily destroyed by water after.
Right.
That's my
Right.
guess.
So, guys, I'm open for exploring a little bit more. If there's anything of note you want to check out, I did make video of the stuff I found in the Coosa River. I just put it on X last night, showcasing that this island in the Coosa River is in fact an island of artifacts. So, you know, if you see X, I put out a video before trying to imagine what this place looked like, right? And that's another example of us mistaking landscape, right, for what is evidence of geoengineering. You know, this island out there that's just a pile of rocks, and because it's been flooded, it all looks gray and bilgy. You bring it home, clean it off, and you realize that it's artifacts and quartz. So that would be such a sacred place, right? And that's what I hope to get out of all this. We can take a minute and look at of course, the Mabila artifacts, just because Nick's in it and he can comment some. But, what I really hope overarching we guide this whole thing towards is appreciating what was here that we have yet to appreciate, right? Not only with this plan that Tuscaloosa put in place, we review that map one more time and we see that he had Atahatchi here, Mabila here, right? And he brings Tuscaloosa down into here, crosses here, DeSoto here, and they even delay them here. They tell them we don't have enough canoes, they have to build their own, right? And it's water all sides. You've been brought in here. You're going to cross this and think you've crossed a river, right? And then here, the remains of the town. I showed you the platform mound. What we can do is just give everybody a visual of this place. Nick, I think it was the last drone video, probably. Okay. So Nick
There
and
we
I are
go.
standing over here. You
That's
see
what I
the
wanted to
bluffs.
see.
Okay, these are the bluffs. They talked about 40 to 100-foot bluffs, and that ridge runs all through here. Now, the drone's coming back to Nick and I standing right there in this video. Let me pull up the other one, and we'll get an idea. See, when I showed you the map, yeah. So see, this is the water flow. Now, if we're saying they were brought in from Atahatchi over here, somewhere into this region, right? And then cross this thing. Now, all you would have to describe what you just did is crossing a river, because here's the river, right? The river flows right by this. Nick's still heading north. Here's the golf course. You again see the 40 to 100-foot, embankment, and it runs over here as well. Really starting to show the embankment. There we go. So this is all what would have been described. These trees would have been gone. All of this is mounds up here. They built a Scottish links style golf course, right? Now, if you don't know what that means is it's full of mountains, right? All these little hillocks. Here's the LiDAR of the golf course, right? Here's your ridge. And here's all these mounds and mounds and mounds. Now, where did the dirt come from, or why did they bring in the dirt to turn this into a Scottish link style golf course if this were all flat terrain like the rest? I propose they didn't. I propose a lot of this was already here.
It was easier just to roll with it.
Not only that,
Correct.
they did not want to
Correct.
start digging to try and level that and then
No,
find
yes, because
artifacts
top
in it.
God
finds.
forbid.
Listen, y'all. I went to Dollar General last night, and the guy checking it out, just good old local down home boy, right? And he likes to tell me about his day when I pop in there, and he said, "Yeah, I'm slow today." He said, "I got popped for almost trespassing in a creek yesterday." And you know me, I went, "What creek?" And he said, "Over here at Cooter's Pond." Now, Nick, when you and I went, I pointed out the creek we crossed over, and I said, "Look, they put up no trespassing. Somebody's bought all of that property." But the reason is surface finds. And like this guy was telling me, I said, "I think that's where DeSoto crossed the river." He said, "Me too."
What are the
I said,
odds you
he
meet
said,
another
"Man, you can
person
go."
like you?
Nick and I were, you were
Of
standing.
course you did.
And he said, "You can find surface finds, man." I was like, "I know, dude. I know. I'll come talk to you in a bit." But this would be the area then. There's that bridge is the golf course, and that water just continues, as you saw on the map, all through here. And if we fast forward to where Nick turns around, here's your ridge line again. Let's keep jumping. And there you go. You're showing the whole ridge line. They would have crossed, like this is basically the view they'd have had crossing right here, right? Now, over to their left is the Alabama River. But when you cross this and the water goes as far as you can see to the right and to the left, this river you've been following the whole time, right? What are you going to write down in 1453 1540 that you just did, right?
Right.
Okay. So last of the drone, let's see, it's back up here. I just want to see if you guys can really get the understanding of the river. So here's Nick over the golf course where he got stuck. Look at all the mounds out here, guys, out there. Now, let's see if you turn around, see all this water, it just keeps going. Here, this is the Alabama River right here, right? So if you're crossing from a peninsula right here, right? Well, how do you describe what you just crossed? Because this is the river. Montgomery is right here, right? The river winds all the way down and back to this point. So that's the proposal there. Not only do you verify, look at this J-shaped island. Remember that, Nick? That's a strange one on the map. Again, geoengineered? I don't know. Got to
be.
get on it and find out.
It's a
Uh,
weird way for the land to be formed
right.
like that right
It's
there.
like so much of this was somehow engineered,
Right. Especially when
if
you
you're willing
consider
to
the
consider.
currents of the river
And
coming
here's
up
where,
there.
right, the currents. Here's where the river flows in. Nick's about to show you downriver here. And so it's just all flowing. And this flow is sucking this flow,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Physics. So it's all flowing. And there's Montgomery off in the distance. This is the river. Atahatchi would be back over here. Tallahassee, the Coosa River, where they crossed, right over in here. And that is the impact crater ridgeline you're starting to see form as he's looking over towards Wetumpka. All right there. That's all impact crater ridge, the star wound, as they call it, right? And this is the river flowing in. So they came from over here by the star wound to this peninsula, crossed here. You've got your mounds and your 40-foot bluff, and then they continued their march. See, here we are on the map. Here's where we were just showing you the river flowing in.
Okay.
Here's a peninsula they were led to. Here's the J-shaped island right there, right? And they cross over to these bluffs, which are well described in the chronicles, and then up to Mabila.
Hmm.
They were described as camping nearby and then making it was a very short march to Mabila. They arrived, the lead vanguard was there by 9 a.m., they said.
Hmm.
And when you see they started here with meeting Tuscaloosa, you understand the genius of the plan. You see, he tells them, I'm taking you to a town far away. He leads them down here in 2 days, comes here. They don't know where they are. They see water. They recognize the river. They cross it. Now Tuscaloosa knows, okay, they're not going to go back there. Whatever happened, by the time I get them here to Mabila, they're not going to realize, they will think there's a river between us, right? Now, when I was here working on a piece of property, there's a mound in the back that a house sits on. I've talked to the owners. They've described everything around. I was having to dig what I knew to be an earthwork, about 2 feet of it, right? I didn't even want to do it. I put the guy there that was working with me on the tractor in charge. I did all the work in the front, right? I just didn't want to be part of it.
Hmm.
I go back the next days and I see the burnt, the charcoal from the posts, right? It's in there. And then the creek running between the large mound and this earthwork, which would appear to have been, because it's all red, it's full of daub, a burnt wall. In that little creek, you find pottery, all the necessary native artifacts to prove presence. And that's here. You see, so Tuscaloosa had his new town here, his big fortified town here. Now, instead of taking him straight there, what does he do? He wastes time. He takes them all the way down and through, giving these guys time to prepare, but also making sure whatever goes down, the rest of his stuff, his new town, is safe over here in what we now know had to be a sacred area because of all
Mm-hmm.
these earthworks, which they certainly would have recognized at the time as something, even though they couldn't see them from above. The fact that they made this crescent mound, it's not, could they see it from above? They obviously understood, shaping, right? The landscape for an effect. Okay. So I think we have the artifact table. I don't know if there's any interest to take a peek at that real quick, or if we need to go ahead and wrap. I want to be,
Yeah, pull it
respectful
up.
of where we're at here.
Yeah, pull it up because
Okay.
if it's better footage than we
Yeah,
have,
most
I
definitely
want to
is.
look at it.
So let's go here. Okay.
Yeah.
There's Vanessa.
Stuff was inside the 80 houses that DeSoto decided to set fire to, burning everything they had with them. Priests, everything you need for communion, blacksmiths, keep the 350 horses shoed. We had hundreds of pigs, we had cooks, we had cutlery, we had metal, we had armor. None of it was on them, right? The slaves carried everything to stress inside. So what do you expect to find when an entire town is burned and all of this Spanish metal has been on the inside? has seen that heat, has melted, has been there, tossed around and underground for hundreds of years until development pushes it all into a creek. What would you expect to find? Let's take a look. Here we have laid out, Nick, since you're mobile, let's first give them an idea of what we're talking about in quantity, I think.
Yeah.
So they say when you're looking for Mabila, what do the experts say? How will you know? Well, you will have more metal than you know what to do with. The official academics who are hunting for Mabila 60 miles that way have found a quarter of a horseshoe.
Okay, correction right here. That's the biggest piece they found is a quarter of the horseshoe, not the only piece. And what I believe it establishes, because it's a good hour or so west of here, is that is the route Tuscaloosa took out, and they did a winter encampment that year after they took off because they ran into a lot of native resistance, and that's probably what we're looking at with those guys.
Okay.
Now, what I have found, I've laid out a few pieces here on this table so you get an idea of the different types. And we'll review the table. But Nick, if you want to give everybody an idea, I have examples, but these buckets are full of metal. I have one more here. I have the last bucket, which was brought up a couple of weeks ago. I left here so you could see the randomness, the different types of metal, how these sheets have the quartz rock stuck in them from where they were lying on the ground when they burned. Here with the clay, this big hunk with the various quartz pieces stuck inside, and all the other features I'll show you on the table. But this is a random bucket. Last one gathered. Again, quantity. We go here, same thing.
A little bit more than a horseshoe, right?
A little bit more than horseshoe, bro. And this is what one man with these buckets has brought up over the past few years, right? Here, we're not done yet.
Oh, yeah.
Here, full to the brim, all of it, brother, because you will come back with this much inside of, as we go through this, is just the multiplicity of types of metal that you see exhibited, right? There is not just iron. There is not just one type. Only way I really know to start is to dig in. So first things I put my hands on, usually I like to display the hollow nature of a lot of this, right? This is a striking piece. You can see these bubbles represented here. I like these pieces. I've got several to show you because
So carbon.
whatever this was propped on was not metal, as exhibited by the fact that I can stick my finger in there and pull out the carbon from the fire. Okay, now you'll see this carbon present on many of these pieces. This odd looking thing, which had something in here, right? You see the carbon starting here. You flip it around. That was the case. This was obviously on a stick, a pole, something which carbonized when it all burned. So the carbon feature exhibits on a lot of these pieces. What I've tried to do is just group them roughly so you can get an idea for the different types. Nick, you like this piece because it exhibits, again, imagine a hunk of armor or a horse armor, or who knows. You can see these holes obviously there and designated on the back where it burned. Right here close, man, we have, I call this first piece. That's how I've referred to it before, because I was, after gathering all of this, you know, you start picking up these pieces and I wasn't looking for Mabila, right? I'm down there on this creek connecting with God, trying to, you know, sort my own sort of stuff out. But I start finding all this metal. And so then I learn about a story about Mabila. Now, I was holding this piece in my hand. I was in like the outside of the UPS waiting for someone over here in town in a parking lot.
I was telling you that you should do a soft print of those writings.
A soft print of the what?
So either use plasticine or just ink and then roll it in a parchment, or
Oh,
just
see.
put vegetable paper on top of it and scratch
Hmm.
it till you have the imprint. So you, because it's much easier if you only have the symbols.
That's a brilliant idea, man.
Love to see what comes out.
Okay. I'm gonna click it off and ask for questions real quick, and on. You can check the video online, but you're seeing my point now. This entire island is some sort of a sanctuary. Nice petrified wood piece here that's been worked, and that is the last of what I was hoping to get evident about, trying to paint this picture of what was really going on here. We've covered the mounds. We've covered. I wanted to cover that bucket just to really showcase that this island in the middle of this sacred river, formed by this star wound, was in fact an island of quartz. All of it obviously manufactured in some way, touched by the hands of man. Yeah, that really opened my eyes, and it revealed to me why I've always felt drawn to that place, and it was so special. That's all I wanted to cram in, guys. I'm going to leave it to y'all now as to what we do.
Have you done any research on that golf course? Like how far back can we see as far as the landscape there?
What do you mean? How far back?
Like can we see it like 10 years ago, 20 years ago? How long's it been
Oh,
there?
yeah. So that course was built when I was in high school or so. Um, Maybe junior high, right? So you're talking late 90s. So could we find archived footage? I would think so. Yeah.
That would be interesting to see, I would think.
Yeah, see, how things stuck in your mind, and what stuck in my mind as a child. My father watched golf a lot. I played a little bit, took some lessons, so I had it in my periphery. And when a Robert Trent Jones golf trail was opening in Prattville, it was sort of big news. And one of my professors at AUM, theater professors, he was huge into golf, and so he was informing me, it's going to be a Scottish Links golf course. And I'm playing back the pictures in my head of when I watch TV with my dad. I'm seeing the Scottish Links, and I'm going, "What? Why? Why are they moving all
Right.
that earth?" That was just a thought I had in 95. When this place was getting up and going. And then so here today, when I'm drawn to Piachia and I see these cliffs, and I find this mound, this platform lidar, then I'm able to connect the dots and go, "Oh, that's
Right.
why it's a Scottish Links, because it was there."
Yeah, it was
Scottish Links
probably already there.
terrain right here on the Alabama River. Wonder what that was. Mounds, maybe?
Gotta be.
Huh.
I have a
Now,
question,
and then you
Jason.
just go walk, and you can be anybody walking your freaking dog here in Cooter's Pond, and you can pick up artifacts.
Yeah. I have a question, Jason, about
Yes.
when you guys were filming at the mound, at the mound earthworks, where
Right.
you said the development is basically bordered right up along the river, and they're pushing, essentially pushing all their junk into the river and sort of diverting it, which is undercutting
Mhm.
the mound. Do you know specifically if the development has plans to expand past the river line, or is the
Well, okay,
mound?
so here's what's happening. If I pull up my map here, all right, and in order for Nathan to try to get the whole scene on, he had to load other county maps, and I didn't want him to take the time. So this is as far as we went. But you're talking this region here, right? Now you see all these streets, all right? But now this neighborhood is continued. Here's this road. This road, right? It moves up right here, right? Comes up off your screen, over back around here. Now this neighborhood has already cleared all of this, right? You don't see it on this map. All of this is now neighborhood. Okay. All of this on this side of the road, right here, neighborhood, right? All of this being cleared now, all through here.
Okay.
Now, the tricky part about all of this, and I've really had no choice but to, kind of keep pushing, is currently all of this is for sale,
Okay.
right? Now, the development has not encroached. If you basically follow this square, this red square line here,
Uh-huh.
right? And then this creek that I'm following is the property line, right? And this creek right here is where the X marker mound is, right? I mean, the X tree. And then the crescent mound is right here. All right. Now, all of this is currently for sale. It has been for years because of all these creeks and this little beaver pond right in here, which makes this swamp look like a pond. It's the beaver pond mentioned in the chronicles, right?
Okay.
So it can't readily be developed, and that's what's saving it.
Okay.
It's on the market and can't readily be developed, so these people aren't snatching it up, right?
Just kind of buying
Um,
up all around it.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
It's completely encircled. And then it even carries on. The mound structures carry on back over in here, in very old neighborhood back on this side of the road.
Okay.
Um, but this entire area, is eat up with it. But yeah, so right now we have the crescent mound, the both the marker trees and all encompassing territory for sale, right? And then this
Okay.
creek here, so you jump in right here at the beaver pond, and I've traced the metal. It doesn't come out of this creek, right? It's coming out of these right here. Okay.
Like the little
Ever
subsidiary tree.
clearing the original sections here. This is original. So this was your first bit of neighborhood, and then this, and now it's just boom circling all around this property.
Right.
So obviously the battle site in the town proper was somewhere probably in this area. And when you take this road, I used to have a convertible as a kid, and I drove this road. And before they cleared it, it was my favorite drive because it's just beautiful rolling hills and plains, just as described in the chronicles. But it's a neighborhood now.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions? Nick, Ricardo?
Nick, what are your thoughts? You still with us? You were
Yeah.
here.
That golf course is really interesting. I would like to have been able to see more of that area, and I really thought that was interesting to think about what it was prior. I was even thinking myself, I want to start looking that up.
It was the end of the day. So we when we were leaving Cooter's Pond, I tried to point out to Nick the entrance to this area has a really big mound that they've now put a clock tower on. So again, all of this I've put forward the reason I'm positing this because it looks like mounds. It's right where you find all the surface finds and with the lidar. The fact that so just south of the golf course, so where Nick and I were standing with the drone footage, to our left is the golf course, right? To our right is the peninsula where when I looked at lidar, I pulled this up. And I've had, Malwar, a few other, I don't want to say anybody's name to get them messed up, but I've had people look at this and you can look at it. And that's platform mound. When you look at the map, this is all wooded. It's all old growth forest. This is not
Yeah.
a new structure. And that sits right there, you see? So there's that mound. Here's the bluffs, the golf course all up here, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Nick and I were standing here filming, and here's where the river flows in and the part where they crossed. So this area is eat up with all the signatures. Little mounds when we came in. I remember I pointed to you, Nick, where the bluff started, and this is an old neighborhood right here, these lines you see. So this has been developed, for a while, and you can see little mound structures when you drive up in there. But yeah, the golf course is right up there. Okay. Anybody else? Next. Sorry.
I'm good. Anybody else got questions?
I think we're pushing. Some folks got family matters to see to.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, I love this story and I love your enthusiasm and I really
Yeah,
appreciate
it's
you
it's
and
so
Nick getting
personal,
out there.
I discovered, the native spirit first, and I hint at when the chroniclers, when they come through here, they don't understand, not only where all this material stuff is coming from, right? That they see everywhere when they're describing these temples and these statues and all of this, right? And these giant
Mhm.
people, but the way these people behaved and conducted themselves, right?
Yeah.
The Spanish couldn't represent it. They didn't see schools. They didn't see, you know what I mean? Their eyes could not grasp where this was coming from. And as I was discovering spirit first, right? God first, and he's guiding, we're going through all this as I'm just popping around, discovering all this native stuff,
Mhm.
that I suddenly start feeling and realizing a connection to. And that became a through line for the story as I started discovering, these earthworks and what they were really up to and these islands of quartz, right? That really just started to make sense as that's the way to go. Is first of
Mhm.
all, I can start to explain and understand that these people were in touch with spirit because my own experiences taught me that that's real, right?
Yeah.
that you can be led and guided and taught and commune with a live and active presence, right? So this all started making so much more sense to me from that angle. When I started reading these descriptions of them marveling at where these ethics, these morals, and this ability to communicate as though they had AI running through their brain, really,
Well, they kind of
is
did.
because they were so in touch with that. So yeah, I am excited about it. I really am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're such a great storyteller too.
That too. You
Yes.
really are.
Yeah.
You've done a great job. You've done a
I'm gl-
great job with this presentation. I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah. I
especially
knew
the
you were
drone
working
footage.
hard. I knew you were working hard.
Well,
Yes.
the work is out in the fields, and that's the fun. I had to sit here for 2 days, and I set all this up, this new computer site and everything,
Yeah.
refreshing because it's been probably 10 years since I really sat down to a PC and
Well,
broke anything open. So yeah, it's what I love, and going out and doing it. You guys see my videos as I post them.
mhm.
I'm spending all day out there communing and gathering these rocks and artifacts that people just see as junk because we've dammed that river. But it doesn't
Yeah.
equate to work. Jacqueline and I started the day with a quote. She said, I see you've been doing a lot of work. I said, well, when you're doing what you're passionate about, you never work a day in your life. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
Purpose and
That's very
passion all
true for
line
you,
up.
I think. Very true for you. Yeah.
Very true for all of us. I can't see you guys. So I still got my share screen on. I guess I can pop it off. I don't want to mess up our sound, but very true for all of us, absolutely all of us. It's what I love about this group. We all have such extraordinary things and extraordinary talents and our own things going on. And when I start seeing those type people grouped together, there's nothing you can do but be excited about what's building there. Shout out Institute of Natural Philosophy.
Right?
Let me get the share screen
Indeed.
off.
That's
All
the
right,
name of the
where am
game
I?
right there.
Yeah.
Right? That's the end of it. There we go. Hey, Charlotte's coming down. It must be late. You're finally waking up. I've had both the girls here at home sick.
Uh-oh.
There's our
'Tis
share
the
screen.
season.
Okay. And stop.
There is
Boom.
everybody. Yeah.
All right. Well, if no
Yeah.
one
And
has any more,
Nick, thank you for getting out there and getting the footage and,
Oh, yeah,
and
that was
hooking up with
exciting.
Jason and the drone footage. I appreciate all that. I like that. I love that overview. I need to see that in order to put everything into perspective. So that's very helpful.
same.
Yeah.
Ricardo, how you feeling? Has Jacqueline had to reach over there and slap you any? Have you been behaving yourself?
No, I'm very well behaved. I'm very well behaved.
I know you are.
Yeah. I was wondering because the way you are finding all of that, it's kind of after you show the urban development. I wonder if those bulldozers that terraforming the area and planing it all out and pushing it to the edges, then wouldn't allow you to find all of that stuff that you've been finding. So
Correct. Part of the story is, that's why, you see me approaching it very neutrally, right? Because if that hadn't have transpired, it would not have been in this creek that I was going to pray and connect in, right?
sure, but to them
So it
probably they
definitely,
couldn't see anything because if it was burned to the ground and all was
right,
mixed up, it's just rubble to their eyes. So
right.
it's just
And when you
push it
think
aside
of,
and make it straight.
you see these woods, they're covered in these thorns and this brush, and that's the way they were until the developers came in. So they just come in and mass cut these trees. I mean, I'm watching them do it behind me, and then push their bulldozers and get it all out. Um, the fact that the metal ended up in the creek is a little suspicious, right? A little suspicious. But I stopped with that because I'm grateful it did.
Sure.
Because we wouldn't be sitting here today, if we had.
And that massive mound, because the difference of height between the top and the bottom on the crescent mound,
Is it
I
me?
was not
Can you speak
expecting
up?
it to be. Sorry.
Speak up a little. I think it's my volume. It's as high as I can go, but I can't hear you.
Oh. So I was saying that I was impressed by the height of the mound. Was
Yeah.
not expecting it to be that big. The problem is if you, for instance, put a team there to try and clean it and try to recover its former a little bit of its former glory, you're going to destroy it because of all of those trees, all those roots going in.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible to recover that. At least not easy
There's
without
a lot of
damaging it.
holes. from where trees, say pine trees, have grown, and then when they die, they make the fat wood, because all the sap settles, and then over time those become loose and people pull them out, and those exist on the mound. And I showed Nick one or two. You put your hand down in it, and effigy piece,
Yeah, it's a shame because it must be a beautiful place if we manage to recover it. Yeah,
indeed, it's the prayer, it's the hope.
So I think both of you are congratulations are in order because you did a great job, Nick and Jason. So
Indeed.
I appreciate that.
Even that other place
And-
you went to was wild.
Yeah, Nick did great. I can't wait to see him back down here.
Sure.
We had a lot of fun. We crammed a lot in. We did Moss Rock in a day, which was an hour and a half drive for both of us, and then we did all of this down here in a day. It was just go, 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 go.
Looking forward
Now,
to see the
Ricardo, we
final
just got to get
results.
some money to the institute, so we can just send him back down here, and we can both stay in hotels and eat comfortably, and
Sure,
go film the
sure.
rest of what we've got down here.
Working on it. We need Steve to put his stuff together.
Hey, Nathan's hard at work too, man, putting together an episode out of all of this, and hopefully we can push this somewhere and carry everybody, to a higher plane, because the mission is simple. It's getting this truth out there, no matter which category we all are focused on. It's all about pursuing truth of the information of this universe we live in.
Sure. Well, I'm very confident that the product will generate enough revenue for both of you continue this adventure and do it in much more comfortable way and without being in
We
pro
don't need
bono
much,
fashion.
as long as Nick doesn't smoke everything. That
I'll bring my own this time. And
We'll
water.
get Nick some water shoes.
I already thought of that. I was like, I'm getting that. Oh my God.
No, we got to toughen up his feet.
Yeah.
He did great. Most people balk at that because of the
City
sensitive feet,
boy.
and Nick didn't even check up. I didn't even mention it. He just did it because he saw me and we were starting to get a little
I was
wet.
like,
You're a trooper. You're a trooper.
Yeah.
Well, those were smooth rocks y'all were on, so
That was the easy route, Nick.
yeah.
It really was. Guys, I went like a year and a half without shoes, when I was starting this shamanic calling and then just waking up to everything I was doing. And I went everywhere. These swamps with these ridges we were talking about. Yeah, just all barefoot because, I said the natives can do it, I can do it,
Sure. Yeah, Jason, we really, really, really deeply appreciate all the work that you put into this. And I can listen to this story continuously because I just love the dynamics of it. It's a great story and probably one that needs to be told more broadly for sure. So
It gets
Much
so much
appreciation.
richer every time he tells it.
Mhm.
Like we take something else away from it to
Yeah.
where now it's just this huge thing, and like
Yeah.
we're enjoying the ride with you.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm enjoying the ride with you guys. I said it best. Ricardo, how we put it? I love watching a plan fall in place, especially when I had nothing to do with it. So
Sarah?
thank all of you sincerely. I send that right back to you, each and every one of you.
Yes, many hearts. All the hearts.
There we go.
There you go.
There you are.
There you go.
So I heard an expression that is, now I've got you exactly where you want me. So,
I see what you were doing now. No. Love you guys. We're gonna do a sign off.
We are.
All right.
Does anyone want to plug their website, their podcast?
Oh, fuck it. I'll plug
Nicholas?
one.
Cousin Nick?
Yeah, call researchinstitute.org. That's our website. If you like to read a lot, there's a bunch of stuff on there to read. And you have the Occult Rejects on BitChute, Rumble, BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, and all major podcasts. Thank you.
Yes, and I just want to say I finally got my t-shirt and my stickers.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that's right. You
Yes.
sent me the picture. I totally forgot about it.
Yeah, so I can't wait to bust that out and wear it to the gym.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Oh, he's got stickers.
There you go.
Yeah, I got some
I told him to
stickers.
save me one too.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
a bunch of them still.
Yeah, so appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Of course.
I
Well,
was
thank you.
made my day when I got home and popped it out of the mailbox. It was beauty. Yeah. Sarah,
Yes,
darling,
ma'am.
where can all the lovely viewers find Universe Unveiled?
YouTube, X, Rumble, Spotify, Spreaker. What am I forgetting?
Instagram.
Instagram. Well, I don't ever go on the Instagram.
That's my domain. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Jacqueline's territory.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, link in description below. You can catch our merch shop and help support the podcast. And also visit, where else would you like them to visit, Sarah?
Institute for Natural
That girl.
Philosophy.org.
That's it. Okay. Really
And buy me a
appreciate it.
coffee.
Yeah, buy me a coffee. Yes, thank you so much, Shaman. Thank you, Nick, for video assistance and for being part of the UU crew. And thank you, Padre.
The Podfather himself.
Indeed. And most of my thanks go, sorry boys, but to my sweet dolly, Sarah, because I would like to publicly announce how much work she puts into the editing and the production of our videos, all of our videos. Ah, shucks. She's going to say that.
Stop it.
But I need her to know how important that is to me and what great work she does. So thank you, Sarah.
It takes two.
It's twins.
Takes two. The twins.
The twins. So
Thank
boys,
you all.
yeah, boys, thank
Ricardo
you so
will
much.
end with go check out the Institute of Natural Philosophy and the truth. No, what is it? Our best future requires the truth of our past. Been a blast, guys.
Yeah, thank you,
That's a
Jason.
fact.
All right, that's
All
us
right,
signing
guys.
off. Thanks everyone for
Signing
watching.
off.
Bye.
Second UU crew sesh in the bag. Adios.
Bye.
See you soon, guys.